Hello and welcome to my spoiler review for Joker. In this video, I'm going to be delving deeper into the movie by giving my thoughts on key scenes and plot points in the movie, which I didn't get to touch on in my spoiler-free version. As I'm recording this, it's been a week since the movie has been released and it's all I've been thinking about since. I can't remember the last time a movie had this big of an impact on me. Honestly, the more I think about it, Joker might be one of my favourite comic book movies ever, and this was cemented with my second viewing earlier today. I really wanted to get this spoiler video out earlier, but given the theories that are coming out of this movie, I had to give it another watch before I made this video. And I'm so glad I watched it again because I picked up on a lot more stuff during my second viewing. So I guess the best place to start is with this whole theory about whether what we saw in the movie was real or was it just in Arthur's mind. This theory comes from the fact that very early on in the movie we see Arthur locked up in Arkham in the past and he's banging his head against the window. And by the end of the movie it shows us Arthur back in Arkham talking to the Doctor wearing the exact same clothes. This has led to people speculating that Arthur was in Arkham this whole time, and everything that we saw in the movie was just a figment of his imagination. I'm in two minds about this whole is this real or not theory coming out of the movie. On one hand, I don't want to feel like I've just wasted 2 hours watching a story that probably wasn't real. But if a movie was to go down this route, wouldn't a movie about the Joker be the perfect one to use this concept? I mean, the Joker is one of the most unreliable narrators of all time. What this movie does is go out of its own way to show us that some scenes aren't real. I would have rather they just didn't do that and left it more of a mystery. Personally, I think everything we see in the movie is real, apart from the scenes which they tell us are from Arthur's mind. But then you have to question, is the movie telling the truth or is it just trying to play a trick on us? Todd Phillips did say that he was going to let the movie sit for a while before he reveals his true intentions with the movie, so I guess people are going to be arguing about this point for a long time to come. Just to close out on this topic, I wanted to touch on the relationship between Arthur and Sophie. I'm so glad that their relationship turned out not to be real. As I was watching it for the first time, I remember thinking that this is probably the weakest part of the movie. Something was just off with them every time they interacted with each other. But you know what? I actually thought their relationship was real. I know this is going to make me sound stupid, but I genuinely thought she was being overly nice to him because she knew that something was wrong with him. Again, going back to this whole unreliable narrator concept. Leading up to the movie, I didn't think that they were going to go down this route because the movie looked and felt so grounded in reality. But this was totally down to my own ignorance when it comes to mental illness. I know that people can have illusions and hear voices in their heads, but not to the point where it felt like they were having full blown out conversations with other people. As someone who isn't well versed in this area, the movie kind of opened my eyes up about mental illness overall. I do have a minor nitpick with how they revealed that their relationship wasn't real though. I just wish that they didn't include the flashbacks. I think it would have worked much better if we had to piece it back together in our own heads as the movie was still going on. Then we'd also be thinking about how many of the other previous scenes were also in Arthur's mind too. So if it does end up being that the whole movie was just in Arthur's mind, I think this whole concept could have been executed more effectively. Another theory going around is that Arthur killed Sophie straight after he finds out that their relationship was just in his head. Shortly after he leaves her apartment, Arthur is seen back in his room with the police sirens going on in the background, and people are implying that the police or ambulance are there because he killed Sophie. I did notice the sirens in the background too on my first viewing, but I didn't look too much into it because it is Gotham City at the end of the day. It just seemed like a natural occurrence to me. But on my second viewing, I paid extra close attention at this moment, and the sirens aren't just far off into the distance. They're actually right outside of Arthur's apartment building. The vehicle drives off, almost implying that Sophie's body could have been taken away in an ambulance. But here's why I don't think he actually killed her. As crazy as it sounds, the feeling I got while watching this movie is that Arthur/Joker kind of has a code. Every time he kills someone in the movie, it's because that person has wronged him in some way. The 3 Wall Street guys assaulted him first, Randall sold him the gun and then told on him after, which resulted in him getting fired. His mother didn't protect him from abuse as a child, and Murray embarrassed him a number of times on live television. And while I don't think either of them deserve to die, I can see why Arthur by that time, and in that mind space, wanted to kill them by the end. I actually don't think he decides to kill Murray until he turns up on the show. It's implied that all of this is leading up to him shooting himself on live TV, but I think he changes his mind at this exact moment. I noticed this on my second viewing. At this exact moment, Murray is replaying Arthur's clip from the comedy club, once again humiliating him on live TV. And while this is going on, they cut to this shot of Arthur clearly listening backstage, and I think this is when he decides to kill Murray. He pretty much confirms it later on when he's on the show. He talks about how he feels like Murray just brought him onto the show just to embarrass him. Going back to when he kills Randall, he also spares Gary's life because he said that he was always nice to him. I think Sophie's in that same boat too, that's why I don't think he killed her. And while their relationship was just in his head, she never did anything wrong to him. I don't think Arthur was too far gone at that point where he would have just killed her for no reason. I actually don't think Arthur transforms fully into the Joker until the final scene of the movie when we see him back in Arkham. When he's on Murray's show, I still think that's mostly Arthur inside there. Just listen to what he's saying in that scene. He talks about how if it was him lying dead on the street, people would just ignore him. At the end of the movie, when he's back in Arkham and he kills the Doctor for no reason at all, that's when I feel like Arthur died and the Joker completely took over. That honestly felt like the most Joker-like thing he'd done throughout the entire movie. Before I talk about the moments leading to the end of the movie, I just wanted to touch on the scene between Arthur and Bruce. I knew this interaction was coming from the trailer, but I wasn't really expecting much from it. But it actually ended up being one of my favourite scenes in the movie, even though there was barely any dialogue between the two characters. I just love how the scene played out, with Arthur trying his hardest to make Bruce laugh, and he never even hints at smiling once. It just gave me chills thinking about the history between the two characters in the comics, and what it would be like if they were to ever cross paths again in the future. Now of course with the ending of the movie, the connection between Bruce and the Joker are made permanent with the death of Martha and Thomas Wayne. I could already tell that people were going to be annoyed with the fact that we had to see the Waynes die again for like the third time in live action. Honestly, I'm okay with it happening, I just didn't like the way it was shot. I didn't need to see the Waynes actually getting killed, especially with the killer saying the same line as the Joker said on TV. It came across kinda cheesy to me. I would have preferred it if the guy wearing the clown mask followed them into Crime Alley and that's all we see. Then it cuts to the shot of Bruce standing over his parents when Arthur tells the Doctor that she wouldn't get his joke. I thought that would have been more powerful in my opinion. But the end shot I really wanted is when Arthur is standing on top of the cop car and his crowd of followers are just celebrating him. Then I wish it would have cut to black and had the credits rolled. We don't know what happens to him or with Gotham City, we're just left with this final shot of the city in total chaos. I thought it would have been a bold move to end a movie like that. So I think I'm going to leave it there. If you couldn't tell, I really love this movie and I'll probably end up seeing it again later this week. Let me know your thoughts on it and some of the points that I brought up during this spoiler discussion. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time.